They come in this beautiful bronze, reddish color.
The vibrancy of Anthurium is captivating.
Anthurium are a beautiful genus of plants.
But growing these spellbinding plants can be a bit complex.
Wait till you hear what happened to my queen Anthurium.
Especially if you don't keep up with their care.
This thing suffered worse than any plant that I have ever had, and I feel so bad for it.
Fortunately, I have some simple hacks to help you master the art of Anthurium.
I only do this with my Anthurium because I've noticed that it helps make them thrive.
But first, I need to help you crack the code.
3, 2, 1. I'm sorry! So, you guys ready to get through this? Because I'm not, but here we go anyways. Ah yes, Anthurium, the crown jewels of my collection that I did not start off with too well. In fact, of all my Anthurium, and I only have a couple, this one right here, the Anthurium Magnificum, is the oldest Anthurium that I owned. And here's the thing, when I first got it, I didn't know how to care for Anthurium, and I didn't understand humidity or have a humidifier, so this thing suffered worse than any plant that I have ever had, and I feel so bad for it, but we're going to take care of it today. But first, I do want us to do a little rewind to tell you a little backstory about it. So I first got this plant in 2021. The month was October. I purchased it off of Etsy from a place called the Plant Zoo in Toledo, Ohio. Came in super healthy, beautiful plant, but it took about 1 month later, 2 months later, I'm sorry, in December of 2021, when the first new leaf came in that was under my care. They come in this beautiful bronze, reddish color, and then they turn into eventually, green with silver and white veining. But yeah, it was really cool to see its first new leaf come in, and I thought I was doing a good job with it. I'm like, Anthurium, I've got this under control. Here's a fun fact: I did not have it under control, but let's continue on with this story right now. Because it was 2 weeks after that first new leaf came out that I finally got to see the results. It started to look so beautiful. This was January of 2022, and look at that new leaf. This plant started with 3 leaves, and then eventually grew that beautiful one. But then again, it took another 1 year, March of 2023, for a brand new leaf to come in again. Because I just didn't know how to care for this plant. I didn't understand it or its humidity. But yeah, 1 year later, a new leaf started to emerge. I had in my bedroom with humidity, and it came out, but it wasn't like a great leaf. It wasn't wonderful or anything like that. And then eventually it died off. But that just kind of happens, I guess, right? Right? All right, so I finally started to understand Anthurium, understand their humidity, their watering needs, their nutrient needs, their lighting needs. And this guy here, my Anthurium Magnificum, it started to really take off and pop out beautiful, beautiful new leaves. But as you can see right here, right now, there is only one leaf. I got rid of the others that were not doing well. I wanted the energy to be focused on this one, which was its newest leaf. Now, Anthurium are a beautiful genus of plants that fall under the Araceae family, and there are about 1,000 species, more than 1,000 species, I should say, because there are more that are discovered on a daily basis, and oftentimes people will make hybrids of them. I mean, there's so many different hybrids of this Anthurium magnificum here, which, by the way, means magnificent. Magnificent Anthurium, and you can see why. What stands out about it, though, is its petiole, and that you can see on the back end of it, it is square, unlike most Anthurium. It's really neat, but its leaves, they are just so beautiful, and I haven't had one get to this size quite yet. I think the closest I got was about like, oh boy, maybe close to 2 feet, like a foot and a half. But yeah, they can get up to 3 to 4 feet long out in nature. By the way, they hail from the tropical jungles of South and Central America, mostly though in the Colombia area, where they just thrive down there. And they are just such beautiful epiphytic plants. Epiphytes, meaning that unlike plants that we're so commonly used to that grow in soil, these ones grow on like the sides of trees and other objects. So yeah, they're like orchids, epiphytic, you know. And so this plant here, since I've had it in 2021, has been in this same pot that I have kept it in the entire time, and it desperately needs a repotting. Not just because I believe that it's struggling root wise, and that's why each new leaf that comes out, the other one's been dying off, the other two. But I also want to transfer it into not only a larger pot, but a transparent pot where I can pay close attention and see its roots. I do the same thing with a lot of my other plants, including my king anthurium, which I'll talk about a little bit later on. But yeah, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to start by taking this baby out of that pot right there, which I believe I got at a local grocery store, and it had like a pothos in it at first. By the way, if you thought that the origin story of this Anthurium Magnificum was like, how dare he? How dare he neglect an Anthurium as beautiful as this one? Wait till you hear what happened to my Queen Anthurium. Gosh, it's such a painful story. But first, we need to get to this. And what we're going to do is, I think I'm going to go about it the same way that I did my Monstera celtopecana. If you happen to watch that video, where I get so nervous about some of these plants' roots, even though Anthurium have really thick, healthy roots. But what I did was I took a hammer to the Monstera celtopecana's pot and I just kind of like hammered apart. And I'm not going to use this pot again, so I really honestly just don't care. So let's just do that. Let's just get it over with, all right? Here we go. We're in this together. We're in this together. Okay, okay. We got this. I don't got this. You guys got this. Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1. I'm sorry. Please don't be upset with me. Oh, yay. Whoa, yeah. This baby definitely needed a repotting. Okay, let's try to get this done. There we go. Oh my gosh. By golly, its roots are so thick and they definitely ran out of space in there. I did drill in a lot of drainage into this pot, but clearly, it just needed some more space. Let's try to pull it out of here gently without pulling apart any of these roots. Hopefully, because they're thick roots, that it'll be easy. And yes, no root damage while repotting. Oh my gosh. That is like unheard of, guys. By the way, I love how I just put on this trash bag like it's a murder scene or something, and we're just, we need this because we're going to clean up a murder scene. I mean, that might have been what happened to my Queen Anthurium, but we're going to talk about that a little later. So anyways, yeah, with this guy right here, though, what we're going to do is now we're just going to, and look at this, by the way, because when I tell you it has thick roots, and I've shown you guys repotting videos before with my plants, and I don't know of any other plants that I have that have roots that are as thick as Anthurium. Like, that's just insane to me and beautiful at the same time. But yeah, I want to break apart all this soil because this has been the same soil substrate that I have used since 2021. I forgot I put these little forest creatures that are supposed to be like forest spirits in my plants, and this one was buried inside of him, so I'll have to make sure to pop that back up with it. But yeah, I want to give it fresh soil. I also want to clean off its roots, and that way we can pot it up in this larger pot, which will be a perfect size based off of the amount of roots that we have going on here, the thickness of them. This is, of all Anthurium, I think, even though I didn't know how to care for it at first, one of the easier Anthurium that I've ever had. And the reason I say that is because as long as you give it a lot of humidity, like at least 60%. These are one of those Anthurium that really thrive in high humidity. I mean, all Anthurium do, and most tropical plants do. But this one in particular, if you don't give it that high humidity, then you're not going to get the results that you really want with its leaves getting really gigantic and stunning. And so that's hopefully what we're going to get to do here on its leaf is all bendy and stuff like that. One thing too is that with Anthurium, especially in Anthurium magnificum, is that yes, they do like bright indirect light. But I've noticed with this guy in particular, in this species, is that they like medium to bright indirect light. So not as bright indirect as bright indirect would be, if that makes sense. A little bit less than that. And what happens in that situation is that you'll find that their leaves will come in a richer, darker green in those stunning silver and white veins that you see across its foliage. They'll just pop even more than they do. But I've noticed in bright indirect light, they're not as spectacular, as saturated as they are when I have a medium to bright indirect light. You never want to put an Anthurium, or most plants for that matter, unless it's a succulent or a cacti, in direct sunlight. It'll scorch their leaves, it'll destroy them, they'll just be goners, and that's not what we want to have happen here. So yeah, this baby here is just going to need a nice little soaking, and it will be good to go. So just give me like 1 second. Okay, so that took more like 15 minutes to clean off, but here we go. Take a look at those roots again. I mean, those are some thick roots. Those are so beautiful and healthy, and it makes me so happy to see that they're so healthy after the neglect I put it through. I feel so bad, but we're going to get you into a better home now. So I'm just going to place it here in this little plate. And what we're going to do, like most aeroids, including our beautiful Anthurium magnificum here, love a good chunky aeroid soil mix. And that's what I have right here, which, you know, is a combination of a lot of things like soil mix, perlite, there's some activated charcoal in there, cocoa coir, just very breathable stuff where their big roots can kind of move through, you know, just to be able to breathe a lot more. And just to boot, I ended up finding randomly in my closet was an old bag that I had never opened of Lechuza Pon. So I'm using that as well in there, mixed it in. So that will also allow for great aeration and breathable room. So we're going to start with our base layer here. And then, as is tradition, if you've watched my videos, I always love just kind of like putting on some rooting hormone powder onto the roots because it just stimulates growth in the roots, you know, and it's just an extra precaution that I like to take when I'm potting up plants, repotting them, or potting up new cuttings. So we're just going to put it on there like it's flour, shake and bake this baby, and we should be good to go. And so just gently put it in there. Try to make sure its roots get in there and don't come off the side. There we go, baby. I'm so sorry. I promise you I will not let this neglect happen again. It's like, sure, great. Yeah, I'm sure you said that to your other plants too while you were sick and didn't take care of them. I had my reasons. I was sick, all right? Calm down. Okay, so now that we have it in there, placed properly, we're now just going to fill up around the sides, you know? Easy peasy, lemon squeezy, just like that. So I want to tell you a little bit more about the Anthurium magnificum because, as you've noticed, it has beautiful velvety leaves. And what do we know about plants that have beautiful velvety leaves? Well, pests like them, like spider mites especially. They love plants that have velvety leaves, and they try to cling on to them and stuff like that. I fortunately have not dealt with any really pest pressures with this plant in particular. But the thing about Anthurium magnificum, their biggest threat they're prone to is leaf damage. In fact, their leaves are really sensitive. Like when they're first coming out, you don't want to touch them because even just like a slight touch can throw off the entire leaf, create a hole in it, make it deformed, and just very unhealthy. In fact, I had a beautiful big new leaf come out when I learned how to actually take care of this plant, and I had it next to a humidifier that did not have good air circulation around it. And while the plant was loving the humidity and all that good stuff, without the air circulation, that humidity was just sitting there stagnant, and it was sitting on the leaf of the plant, and then it created like these just kind of weird formations and different coloring that was not healthy or good for the plant in general. So just a warning, make sure that you are very gentle with their leaves, especially when they're first coming out. What I'm doing is I'm shaking around the potting mix so it stays in there and just kind of moves around through that jungle of roots that you saw. And also, I only do this with my Anthurium because I've noticed that it helps make them thrive. Is I take a layer of sphagnum moss and I put it on the top part of their soil. Now, what this helps with is because they are epiphytic plants and they do climb on the side of other things like trees out in nature, is that they grow aerial roots. And those aerial roots are looking for things to clutch onto. And Anthurium in particular, with sphagnum moss, they just love it. And so their roots just kind of go like all over the place and climb throughout it. But it also provides an extra layer of humidity. Once you're done watering this plant, it just kind of keeps it down in there, even though it's well draining soil, just keeps it kind of warm and humid. So, look at that. We finally, after 3 years now, have finally repotted him, got a new home. And by having him in a clear plastic pot, I'm able to keep a close eye on his root growth and just to see how he's doing and all that good stuff. But yeah, hopefully he'll start growing again soon. But in the meantime, what I'm going to do is I'm going to water him, and that'll only take a second. So in the meantime, why don't I show you some of my other Anthurium? And how's about we start with my favorite Anthurium in my collection? And mind you, I only have a couple, but this is my King Anthurium, the Anthurium veitchii. In this latest leaf, I know that I've talked to you guys about it before, but I am so in love with it. It came out this past December, so fairly recently. And the other largest leaf is this guy right here. So it was nearly double the size. In nature, their leaves can grow longer than 3 feet. And just beyond it is one of my Anthurium crystallinum. I absolutely love those plants so much. They are so beautiful. They look just like the Magnificum, although their leaves aren't as giant and balloony, although they are very finicky. They do need their high humidity, their good watering, bright indirect light, kind of constant care. Like they don't want to be left sitting in water, but they also don't want their soil to be dry, like most Anthurium. But very finicky plant. Took me a while, a couple of years to figure those guys out, but absolutely stunning. And so, if this is the King Anthurium, you're probably wondering what happened to your Queen Anthurium that you were mentioning early on in the episode, Kevin. Well, it was only a couple months after owning and buying that Anthurium Magnificum that I decided that I would go after the most beautiful Anthurium, the Queen Anthurium, the Warwickwianum, and I purchased one, a beautiful one that was nearly 20 inches long. I mean, look at how beautiful that thing was. And this was in 2022. It was very expensive at that point. And what did I do after one day of owning it? Well, it had one leaf, that one beautiful leaf. I accidentally knocked it over, and its stem, the leaf, just broke apart. Um, and I don't like to talk about it anymore. But that's the story of what happened with the Queen Anthurium. Gosh, I miss that plant so much. But these are your standard Anthurium that probably a lot of you have. This is the Anthurium andrianum, also known as like the peacock flower, the peacock plant, or the painter's plant. And they are very beautiful, but these are probably the easiest to care for Anthurium. Over here is a hybrid, and that is an Anthurium Radicans X luxurians. So luxurians crossed with the radicans. I love that plant so much. It's beautiful foliage and the texture on it is just so stunning. Took me a while to figure that one out too, but high humidity, bright indirect light. And so I have more Anthurium crystallinum. These are my original ones that I've owned for, gosh, 2, 3 years now, close to 3 years now. Took me forever to figure them out. And then once I did, like with the other little guy over on the other side, they just started thriving, just thriving and taking off. And then my more recent Anthurium is this cutie over here, and that is an Anthurium clarinervium. And it looks very similar to the crystallinum when you put them side by side and look at them. But this one is so much easier to take care of. Like, doesn't have those high humidity needs, any of that stuff. Just a beautiful, absolutely stunning species. Speaking of beauties, look who's done with her watering. I'm gonna look for a pot to put this plastic pot within just to cover it up, but in the meantime, this paint bucket will do. But man, oh man, am I so glad that I got that done, because like I was telling you, I've been putting this off for years, and hopefully it inspires new growth for this plant. By the way, with all my Anthurium, doesn't matter the time of year, I always added a little bit of fish fertilizer into their watering, maybe just a smidge during the winter and fall months, just because they're big feeders and it really helps make their leaves balloon in size. So just another little helpful tip there for all of you who are looking to get into Anthurium. But I would highly recommend this beauty, the Anthurium Magnificum. And I'm going to look for a beautiful spot for her where she gets some good light and some great humidity and airflow. Hey, I want to thank you guys so much again for watching another one of my planty videos. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to my channel, hit that notification bell so you can get more fun and interesting planty content just like this. I'll see you guys in the next video.